O'Reilly, author of Confronting Evil, assessing the worst of the worst, staying strong on the New York Times bestseller list for a 5th week in a row. Bill, congratulations. Bill's message of the day: President Trump has 3 more years to achieve historical greatness, and his critics can't really affect what happens unless the Democrats win the midterms next year. Bill, good to see you. If you're thinking about the midterms next year, seeing millions upon millions out in the streets protesting Donald Trump is a good sign for Democrats, something Trump should worry about or not?
It's a neutral. In fact, I thought there'd be more people out demonstrating on No King's Day because 75 million people voted for Kamala Harris. And most of them voted for her not on her ability. They voted because they didn't like Donald Trump. So that's less than 10% who showed up on Saturday to vent their anger. A couple of points. The media, that's you and me and everybody else, we concentrate on the extremists. I don't believe that most of these demonstrators wanted Charlie Kirk assassinated, nor do they want Donald Trump dead. They're disenchanted with the president and America for whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons all over the place. Many of them are uninformed. They don't know what the grievance really is. Their friends are grieving, so they are. So I was in Kingston, New York, doing a little foliage tour upstate on the Hudson. And there was a demonstration in Kingston. Now, Kingston and that whole area up there, a lot of ex-hippies from New York and things like that. But the consensus that I saw was this was a party. There were little kids, the ice cream guys were there, they were running around, the grandparents and parents had little signs, and the signs were all over the place. I think the biggest issue is the ICE. They don't want Homeland Security to boot out undocumented people. I think that's probably the biggest issue, but then there's the National Guard and things like that. But when I was observing this, I saw no specificity at all, none. And then watching the local news, the protesters couldn't articulate what was making them so angry.
We have a little bit of that. No, he's not trying to take people's rights to vote away, especially women. So,
Thank you for making my point. I appreciate that.
Yes. But I think there's something here, right? There's something here, right? That all these folks are sort of angry, and they've gotten fed this idea that they need to be angry at Donald Trump.
Right.
Like it or not, Trump is delivering on most of his promises, right? A lot of them. You've articulated that. Democrats are angry about that. Fine. They should be, because Trump is doing things that Democrats don't like. That's the way politics works. I'm almost wondering if these kinds of protests about nebulous things and about calling Trump a king when he's clearly not, on and on, is actually not a good thing for Trump, because it means that for Trump, the energy is on Democrats being crazy and hating him, like they did in 2024 and in 2016, rather than on issues where, as you point out, like the economy, he might be vulnerable.
There are a couple of truisms here. So Donald Trump believes that bear baiting comes from Switzerland in the Middle Ages, when you had a bear at the bottom of a pit and you put a carrot on a stick and the bear would get ferocious, but he couldn't get the carrot because you kept pulling it up. So Donald Trump loves to bear bait the people who don't like him. He goes out of his way to exacerbate any kind of grievance, all right? And he believes that that motivates his supporters, MAGA, even more. The more you hate me, the more that my supporters will rally to me. And that is the president's thinking, which is why he doesn't moderate his stance. He doesn't try to persuade anybody who doesn't like him. He does things that other presidents would never do in speaking about his opponents, because he believes it works for him politically. But you raise an interesting question. Should Republicans take these demonstrations seriously? And the answer is yes, they should. So it doesn't do any good for the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to say they're all communists and they all hate America. They don't all hate America, and they're not all communists. The organizers hate America. every single one that organized this, every group, is far, far left. And I just listed them down, and many of them are Soros funded tonight on the No Spin News. Every one of them. So you wouldn't have had this demonstration if you didn't have coordination on social media, telling people where to go, giving them signs that they didn't make, that they were made professionally, on and on. So Johnson's right that the core progressives that wanted this are hard left anti-American people, but not the folks. The folks are involved in a situation where they don't quite understand it. You saw that woman in a costume. As soon as the reporter said, how so? How, you know,
right. No,
what is it? Oh, I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go.
What do you, where does this violence thing come from? And I know you and I talked earlier, and you said, I didn't see any calls for violence. We went through a lot of tape today, Bill. You've got a great staff, so do I. And we saw hundreds of clips of people talking about either the celebration of violence, namely the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or outwardly calling for violence, like the guy who said, if I could kill Stephen Miller, I would. And yet, the reaction when this is said about people on the right, everybody's kind of like, nah. The flip side, you and I both know, Bill, that if this was in 2009, because we both covered the Tea Party movement, that if there had been people at the Tea Party rallies talking about, yeah, I want to kill Barack Obama, yeah, I want to kill people in his administration, everything would have gone nuts. So where's the difference here?
That's an old story. All right, your question is, what about the calls for violence? Those are mentally ill people. So when you have a large, million-plus crowd, or whatever the number is, you're going to have a lot of mentally ill people. And they're there, and they let politics consume them, they lose control, they get attention. So they're the real militants. As I wrote in Confronting Evil, and thank you for mentioning the book at the top, 15% of the worldwide population is flat-out evil. They like it. But I have to compliment the protesters. This could have easily gotten out of control. And they could have vented, and they could have looted, and they could have done a whole bunch of things. Now, that would have worked to Trump's favor. No doubt about it. And maybe the organizers knew that. But there was restraint on the part of the protesters. And I admire restraint. Also, dissent is good. Right. I have no beef with any of the people in Kingston who were out there. And it was, again, a social situation. They knew each other. They were trading. Yeah, everybody recognizes.
All right.
Because I wasn't hostile. I wasn't hostile. I was just kind of, hey, what's this all about? What do you think? And people, when I ask them what they think, they take it as a compliment. And I really want to know what they think. I really want to, the regular folks. I've always done that. So I think that if protest is responsible, it's surely condoning violence.
Yeah, no, condoning violence is wrong.
But there wasn't any violence, really wasn't any. And that is.
You see young people out there in Kingston, or was it all old folks, all the old hippies?
No, there were a few, but not as many as you would think.
Okay. Because there was somebody on MSNBC, I thought,
games.
This guy named Caskey on MSNBC, talking about why young people aren't showing up to these in the same numbers they used to. Take a listen.
My generation saw the definitive movements of our lifetime, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, the March for Our Lives, and said, okay, well, we're still watching black boys get murdered by cops. Somebody's getting put up for mayor in New York City who has a dozen credible sexual harassment allegations. We're still seeing schools get shot up. What are these protests going to do for us?
Cameron Caskey on for something?
No. He's totally ridiculous.
Okay. Enough said.
Look, crime is crime.
Right. No, I get you. You made the point, though, earlier that Trump goads, you called it bear baiting, his opponents. He likes it. Over the weekend, he put up a social media post, AI version of King Trump flying an F-18 over the protest. Take a look. Reaction?
I don't think he did. Yeah, I don't think he did that. I think that was, I mean, we'd had to know about it, and
It was on his social media account.
Yeah, that doesn't mean. Imagine that time to come up with something like that. Maybe, but I doubt it. But it shouldn't be done. There's a decorum, and the people in the White House. There's some very excellent people in the White House. I know most of them.
Yeah.
Some real.
Hey.
They're looking out for the folks. But there's some people that I don't know how they got in there. And if I'm president, I don't want any of that.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, we're taking some hits on your signal. I
want that display.
We're taking some hits on your signal. I think good words and good thoughts at the end there. Thank you, Bill, as always. We'll see you next Monday. Congrats on the success of the town hall here on NewsNation from last week.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.